Welcome to Bridging the Gap. This is a show where we meet some very extraordinary young people and explore their amazing journeys, where they have dreamt big, challenged convention, and redefined what success means. I'm your host, Sheila, and I am on this side of the gap. To bridge the gap today, I have Vani Kapoor, who is someone I have always been inspired by. She is a woman who has been one of those key people in Indian pro golf. And what I love about her is the quiet determination she has brought to everything that she has done. Vani, tell me a little about you in your own words.
First of all, thank you so much for the lovely introduction. It makes me feel really flattered.
It's all true.
So I started my journey at the age of 10, and I was kind of pushed into this sport where my mom said, just 10 lessons and you'll be fine, never play
Moms
this
always
game.
do that.
Yeah, never play this game again. And cut to, it's turned out like this, where it turned into be my profession.
Wow.
And winning was something that really attracted me, and that's something that kept me going and still keeps me going.
Wow, amazing. You know, from a 10-year-old who was doing this just to bond with her father, I remember the first conversation we had, you said that you were doing it to just bond with dad, to a summer camp, which mom forced you to do, to now making it a lifelong passion. It's so interesting to see that it's not just passion that drives success. Most people feel that, oh, I'm passionate about something, so I'm going to be great at it. But that's not really how it plays out, right? So I really want to explore with you the sacrifices you made, the mental grit that you showed, the trepidations that you went through. So I want to ask you, how does passion convert into profession?
So I think passion makes it a little more easier to choose your profession. It gave me more clarity. And knowing why I want to do this, having a purpose, makes you fight a little harder.
But you do have to fight.
Of course, that's a given.
Yeah, you know, the one thing that I keep hearing is, oh, I'm passionate about this. Or I hear young people saying, I need to feel the passion. But I think what they miss is that just because you're passionate doesn't mean you're going to be great at it.
Yeah.
So what is it that you did consistently to make yourself professional in your passion?
That's such a good question. So I feel, that like they say, passion just opens doors. But if you have to walk through it, you have to put into the hard work. And hard work has been my key to whatever I have achieved in life. I think without that, achieving is not possible at all. And in fact, there's a fine line between working hard and also believing in yourself. So my thought process was such where if I work hard, I'll be confident. But over the years, it changed that I also need to work on my confidence along with working hard. So somewhere I pulled down that a notch, and forced myself to believe a little more.
Wow, and I'm actually getting goosebumps as you're talking about this, because one of the things that I've noticed time and again is this constant tug of war between, am I good enough or do I need to work harder to be good enough, right? Let me ask you a question. This is a game which requires a lot of mental fortitude. Golf is not a game which is easy to do. And like you yourself said in our earlier conversation, that it's more about losing than winning. In golf, you lose more than you win. When it's a game that requires so much out of you, where it's a mental game, you're constantly bettering yourself, I'm sure there are times you've said, why am I doing all this? Let me just hang it up. For example, I've been running my business for 30 years now. And I'd be lying if I tell you that every morning I wake up saying, wow, I love it. There have been times I've sat back and said, this is just too much hard work. Should I be doing this? I want to know, in this journey of golf and pro golf, have there been times where you've said, it's just so tough to do? And am I doing the right thing? And what is it that kept you on the straight and narrow?
So, of course, I'd be lying as well if I said I never thought about pulling the plug. It's happened twice.
Okay.
And how I dealt with it was to figure out what was the reason why I felt so.
Oh,
So, was it an external factor or was it an internal factor? Was it something to do with probably, say, lack of sponsors or any other reason that could be there? Or was it some lack inside me and what I was putting at the table? So, when it was an external factor, I said, it's my life, it's my dream. And I definitely owe myself that chance. Like, not even owe. I mean, if I don't give myself a chance,
then who will?
who will?
Yeah.
And when it was internal, I know it's a long road. Life is such, it's very similar to golf, where there are more losses than wins. But you know, that one win makes it worth it. And also, I changed my perspective towards life, not only towards golf, where you know, I'm introduced as so and so with so many number of wins and whatever my achievements are. But I changed the definition of how I see myself, how I see success as, and started winning for myself rather than doing things for the world, rather than being known as a person. I wanted to find who I am.
And you know, what you're saying is so, so profound. Because the other day I was sitting and just reflecting that if you take away the various roles we play, you're a daughter, you're a friend,
Exactly.
you're a cousin, you're a granddaughter, and if you take away all those roles, then who are you?
Exactly.
What is the core of you?
Yes.
And I think the more you connect with that core,
Yes.
the stronger is your strength to actually do the things that you want to do.
Yes.
And so you said there were external factors that you would look at and internal factors. Let's talk about the internal factors. What would you do to consistently overcome those little speed breakers and humps that would come your way where you would say, I can't deal with this right now? What would you do?
So golf is a game which has many different factors. So there's short game, there's putting, chipping, long game. There's a variety of different shots that you have to practice, physical, mental. And one of the challenge that it poses out is how to get all these things working together at the same day. And sometimes it's just beyond you. Like, I found it so difficult to understand that why am I not scoring if I'm a 10 on 10 at every aspect? And every day you get up, you know, at the different side of the bed and you're feeling different, but how do you get the same things on the table? And one thing will go off, the score doesn't come. This starting of the year was something like that, and it was quite annoying and frustrating. I didn't really think of quitting because I asked myself a simple question that, do I believe in myself? Do I have it in me? And the answer was an instant yes. So that just makes it easy to keep fighting through.
So this self-belief is something that you have actually worked on, because you did say that you believed that if you worked harder, then you would be more confident.
Yes.
But you flipped that around.
Yes.
You said, let me work on my self-confidence, and then the hard work will come through.
Yes.
So tell me more about that. Tell me, you know, that was such an interesting dynamic, because all of us spend so much of time working hard. It's a tough life, right? So we're all, to use your generational word, we're all hustling.
Yes.
We're all really working hard at everything we do. But I think what a lot of us lack, and that is not generational, is this concept of self-confidence. So how did you build that? Because in your game, it is really about confidence. In any sport it is. But golf is really a mental game. It's not just a physical game.
Yes.
So tell me some of the things that you did that perhaps people can learn from. What exactly did you do to build that self-confidence?
So I think I'll just like to rewind a little. It actually comes like bridging the gap between two generations for me, because I was taught that hard work is the only way to success. And it was so drilled in my head that there was no other option. But through my journey, I realized there's something known as self-confidence, self-belief as well. And working with sports psychologists, that's what they told me and made me aware of. And that's how I started working on it. So typical army routine, hit 800,000 balls a day and you'll win tournaments. You work hard, you'll get the result. But there was a time when I was working so hard, that's one thing I can definitely put on the table. But where are my results? Who's going to come and give me those results?
Yeah.
But there has to be another way forward, and working with another coach, So he told me that I want you to practice a little lesser than what you normally do, and start believing on your self-confidence.
You have to start practicing lesser.
Yes. And believe in yourself more. Force yourself to change your thinking. So he literally put a ban on me. Like where I used to hit like 500, 600 balls a day, he said hit 100 balls. And obviously that's something I cannot do because that's against my DNA. So from 500, I came to 400. 400 or 450. And now like max I do 350. But that just forces me, if I want to give results, I have to get something else from somewhere.
Yeah.
So that's where I raised my self-confidence from.
Wow. Because I belong to the generation where I believe that if you worked hard, you'll get the results. That's what I was brought up to believe as well. And I believed it too. And chances are, I even told my son that.
Yes.
But I think it's interesting what you're saying, that work on your self-confidence and back that up, or self-belief and back that up. I also see something else, and I'm wondering whether you see it. I see a lot of young people who believe that they can do a lot of things, but then lack the hard work to back that up. Have you seen it? Has that happened ever in your life, where you've become so cocky about winning, where you've said, oh, I'm so good, I don't really need to work hard?
No, not at all. At least not with me. But I have seen so many examples around me where people are so confident, they don't practice, and they're one of the best golfers in this country. So, I mean, like, I learn from these people that if someone's putting in 1/4 amount of effort that I'm putting in and still are one of the best, then why can't I do it? So they believe
Wow.
in themselves so much that they probably visualize or they do other things which their confidence helps them carry through. But whereas on the flip side, if a person like me only has self-doubt, used to have self-doubt,
Yeah.
but no, confidence to keep the train going.
And you've hit the nail on the head, because time and again, I have seen absolutely brilliant people struggle because they've had self-doubt.
Exactly.
And I have seen people who've been half as talented, half as hardworking, really sail through because they believed in themselves. And, it's a very thin line between self-belief and being arrogant.
Yes.
And I'm not condoning arrogance,
Yes.
but the self-belief that I can do it, I will do it, and visualizing that you
Yes.
can do it is really, really important. And it's so true, because there was a time I felt that if I worked hard, everything was in control. And I must share with you, very recently, I went through quite a major surgery. And in those days, preceding the surgery and after the surgery, I realized there's so many things out of control. The only thing in your control is your attitude and the way you're taking a look at life. How is it that you view a situation and what do you make of it?
Yes.
You're a woman, and I have always believed that a woman has it tougher. And I know that for a fact that when you started your golfing journey, you would be the only girl practicing there.
Yes.
And practicing your 800 and 1,000 balls that you would be hitting. How did society around you react? What did people around you say? Obviously, you had a lot of support from your parents, and we'll talk about that later. But what did aunties, uncles, neighbors, mother's best friend, father's old colleague, what did they all say?
So, I've been very lucky that way. My only job was to play golf and study, and my parents heard all of it. And from schools, college, teachers, neighbors, extended family, but it never fell on my ears.
Wow.
And I mean, I got to know about it much later. But I mean, I'm sure, everyone does come from a place of concern. They were not meaning to hold me back in any way. They were just trying to protect me. But all the hard work has been done by my parents. I have no role in it.
But people did say stuff.
Yes, for sure.
So they actually acted as a barrier.
Unknowingly, they did not mean to, because it made life tougher for them, because they kept self-doubting themselves that are we doing the right thing with our only daughter or not? Should we do this? But, like people didn't realize that I gave education and my sport both equal value.
I know you did very well in your 12th after just doing 20 days of college, right? Or school.
Yes, that's right.
Wow.
So it was not that I was taking away anything from my education. It's just that I was giving more on the plate. That's it. And the sad part is that if a child is doing well in an education field, that person is always recognized, supported, applauded, and everything. But if someone picks up an unusual talent, a hobby, it's looked at as a hobby. If you pick up an
Yeah.
art or sports, and the person's not recognized, supported, applauded, until you win an Olympic medal. That's
Yeah,
it. And
yeah.
that's when the society's perspective, approach towards the person changes.
I think also, Vani, you shouldn't be too harsh on society for that. I'll tell you why. We live in India, and there's so much of competition for everything.
That's true.
Whether you're trying to find parking or you're getting your kid into a school,
Yes.
there's just so much of competition. So I think in my generation and my parents' generation, which is your parents' generation and your grandparents' generation, I think the only way to break through the competition was to focus on academics.
Yes.
It was almost the said thing that if you study really well and you do really well in college and get a great job, then you've got it made.
Yes.
I think you guys are blessed and privileged in your generation
Yes.
to be able to have the options that you do.
Yeah.
I mean, golf was what was played by retired army, army officers
Yes.
when they'd go puttering around an army golf course. And for you to have picked it up at an age of 12, you said, I'm sure people would have said, why is she playing a retiree game? But the fact is, your generation has the choice to do what they want.
Yes.
And kudos to you that you've done it. Now, success doesn't come without sacrifice, right? You'd agree to that. So I'm sure when your friends were partying, when they were having boyfriends, when they were going out on dates, you were there at the golf course playing 10 balls, 20 balls, 100 balls, 200 balls. Did you feel bad at any point of time that I'm missing out? Did you have FOMO?
So actually not, because that was the only thing that I knew, and to play golf, because I had my dreams ahead and I knew what I wanted to achieve. So I was pretty clear that time. It didn't hit me then, but it hits me now. On to see, probably I would have had a bigger friend circle, probably enjoyed a little more. But then again, I wouldn't have achieved what I have achieved and probably what others haven't.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't look at it as sacrifice. I look at it as my investment that I made to make me who I am today. So, I mean,
What
no
an amazing
regrets.
way of looking at it. You're saying it's not a sacrifice, it's an investment.
Yeah.
And I remember you telling me that you were 12 when you decided you wanted to go pro. You went pro at 18, and from 18, you've been financially independent.
Yes.
Wow. How amazing is that? I remember this societal pressure can be so high, because I remember there was this one time I had been chosen to be a gymnast in school. And I was very excited because it was a new thing and I felt good doing my cartwheels and the horse and all that. And I had to get a letter signed from my mother saying that, from my parents basically, saying that they were okay for me to be in the school team. My mother just refused to sign. And my dad and I tried to convince her for quite a long time, saying that, why can't I be a part of it? And she said, what if you break an arm or a leg and nobody marries you? So it was like, oh my God, it just comes down to that. How did your parents support you through all this? What is it that they did? One or two, three things that they did? Because we are talking about bridging the gap. And there will be people who will be listening in or watching us to say, how can I support my child to do an amazing job at whatever they're doing? So what were some of the things that they did?
I think number one would be that they left me to my coach and they did not interfere at all. They just let me be. And that was the biggest freedom, trust, responsibility that they showed in me, that I had it in me to probably shape up my own career along with the help of my coach. And never have, we discussed golf at home. All the decisions were mine. They always supported me. And anytime when, I felt stuck, I would go ask them and they would give me their 2 bits. But they just let me flow and take whatever shape I wanted. It wasn't like, like right now I see so many parents who are over ambitious. They put so much pressure on their child. They keep telling them what to do, what not to do. But my parents never told me what to do.
They didn't say things like, "Abhi shadi ka waqt aa gaya hai, you have to get married now."
I mean, of recent it has been, but it's not pressure.
Yeah.
I'm open to marriage as well. I'm
Yeah.
like, ladka dhoondho, main shaadi kar lungi. Mera kya problem hai? Like, I'm not saying no.
No, and
But
I
there's no
like that.
pressure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that is also a fact of life, right? We want our kids to settle down. We want them to find that one person that they truly love and who truly loves them. Those are important as well. But I think it's incredible that you had parents who let you make all the decisions yourself.
Yeah.
I don't think I've been that kind of mother. And I think for me, being involved in my child's decision has been important. Uh, but I think it works differently for different people.
See, they were always there with me at every step. Like till at the age of 21, they were always traveling with me. And I always wanted them also. Because I wanted my own bubble.
Yeah.
There's so much politics in sport.
Yeah.
And even today, I would always choose my parents over someone else in the field to room with or to, share my life with.
Absolutely.
So that has always been my safe space, the space that they provided me. And, any tournament that I wanted to play, and I would tell them I want to go play this tournament, and they would take me. So there were no places where we were like totally against each other, like our thoughts or anything of that kind.
Wow. Wow.
Yes, they were protective in certain places when I said certain things that, I don't think this is right and, I don't want to do this. But they had their own ideas, and obviously they came from experience, which they held me on for a certain time. But eventually we knew that I was right. But it was just that scare, like they want my safety, they
Of
want my
course,
protection.
of course.
And how much have I seen the world as compared to how much they have
Seen the world.
But everything turns out well at the end of the day.
Coaches play an important part in any sports person's life. And it is a tenuous relationship. I love you some days, I hate you some days. Now, you started golf at a very young age. You were a girl in a men's world, and your coach was also a man. And at the same time, you're a tough girl. You're a strong person. How did that equation work out? Did you find that there were days you just wanted to kill your coach? Or was it an easy relationship? How did that dynamic develop?
So in the beginning, my coach was more of a parent to me. I would actually discuss all my problems and every single thing about life with him, more than I did with my parents. But with time, he shaped me into the person who I am, his ideologies. He comes from an army background. So, hard work totally came from there. And hitting 1,000 balls a day, everything was all that he taught me. He taught me how to fight, how to stand for myself. Because in golf, you would often get bullied with politics. So that is one thing that I really, really learned from him, to take a stand for myself at every single time. But with time, as I started growing, I started figuring out who I was as an individual, started maturing up, had my own thoughts, and became a more determined, clear-headed person where I actually needed logic and reasoning for doing certain things. And that was a time where our relationship was tested a little bit, but we came to a common point where both of us understood each other, and then again we found our ways forward.
Wow, interesting. So a lot of maturity on both sides, because it is a relationship which is like a parent-child and yet much more than a parent-child.
Yes.
Very interesting. You also were a woman in that point of time, largely male-dominated sport. So at any point, did you feel that you were playing two games? One, golf, and one, just proving yourself that you were serious about this and you wanted to make it a profession. Did you ever go through that kind of fight?
No, I think that maturity strikes in when you're older. So at that 10, 12, I mean, I did not have the knowledge about, making my own space as a woman or as a lady or as a girl. So all that I did was play golf, have competition with the boys around me, and I loved winning, so I wanted to ensure that they lose.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
I see that winning is really, really, really important for you, right?
Yes.
It is for me. I'm the kind of person that even when we have a casual quiz in the office, I play to win. Uh, I really don't like coming in second, and you don't like coming in second. For you, coming in second is like losing.
Yeah.
How have you dealt with failure? Because dealing with failure for me has been a struggle. I beat myself up. I stay with the failure for a long time. It's only as I've grown older that I've learned that in every failure, there is an amazing lesson you can take away. I didn't understand all this when I was younger. I mean, I still sulk if I miss out on a social quiz or if I don't win a quiz. So, how did you deal with failure? Because you're so competitive and so fiercely driven. How did you make it work? How did you really succeed in the light of failures?
So when I was a child, winning was everything. It still is, but I try and look at it differently now. My definition of success over time changed. So first, it was only to do with how many trophies have I won, what was the number game like, where do I stand. So many comparisons, which only came to realize that I'll always fall short of someone at some point of time, right? But now I see success as, besides my wins, about the experiences that I've had in life, the people that have come and made friends with through my journey, the memories that I've created. But all of this has again only happened only if I was playing golf and only if I had those wins. Nothing taking away from my wins. Very grateful for that. And also, I don't let failure or success define who I am now. As a child, everyone wants to be famous, everyone wants to have the attention, and the only way that we see is if you win a tournament, you'll be famous. If you talk well, you'll be famous, or whatsoever. But I just changed that definition a bit, where I see failure and success as a part of my journey. I do not let either define me.
Wow.
For sure. What defines me is something else, which keeps changing with time. And the people who stay with me for who I am,
Will
they are
stay with
way
you.
more valuable than people who are only going to be with me during my success.
And those who will stay with you through your ups and downs are the ones you want anyway.
Exactly. So, in the grand scheme of things, what happens in the middle is something that shapes us, and what ends is what our legacy is.
You are so incredibly wise. It almost seems like golf is meditation.
Yeah, it's just changed me, my perspective towards everything in life. Like, I see the difference now from what it was when I was a child and how the whole transformation has happened.
Wow.
And, I would like to add another thing. People often mistake this for saying that, it's lack of fire, it's lack of determination. But they don't see the storm behind the calm. So I do receive comments like, you don't have that fire anymore. You don't have that urge to win. But is that really necessary for me to tell you every time how badly I want to win? Like, that's work behind the scenes for me, the amount of hard work. I don't have to go around blowing my own trumpet, right?
Yeah.
If I win, I win. If I don't win, it's my loss.
Yeah. So, I'm not too much of a sports person. Ever since I was told not to join a gymnastics team, I said, might as well just focus on studies. But one of the people that I really admire, not because I understand the game or because I think that, oh, they're a fantastic sports person, but for the kind of person they are, is Roger Federer.
Oh, I love him.
And I just find so much of depth, so much of calm, so much of gentlemanly behavior. It doesn't mean he's less focused.
Exactly.
He is so driven.
Yes.
I mean, when he and Rafa used to get onto a court to play, they were playing to win, both of them.
Yes.
But that never got in the way of them being friends.
Yes.
So I think for me, a lot of life's lessons have been really watching him play.
Yes.
And I understand what you're saying, because it's like a swan. They glide on water, but they're paddling away like crazy below the water.
Yes.
So I get that. I get that.
And people don't see much of that. So obviously, when I was a child, I was more expressive. Like, if I would get angry, my
Yeah,
anger would
yeah,
show. If
yeah.
I was happy, my happiness was shown. But with time, again, with what advice I received from people, one of them was to stay calm whatsoever. Like, don't let your emotions dictate how you behave.
Behave.
And that's a sign of maturity. And also, it really helps on the golf course, so that you don't get distracted and you're always in that Zen mode.
Mood.
But again, it flipped with time, when it's like it's so important to show your emotions, because that emotions for me, or in general, is energy. So how do you use that energy to your advantage, and how you let the bad energy out? So when I became so calm, people saw it as अच्छा ठंडी पड़ गई है.
Ah,
But वो मेरा zen mode है.
I understand.
So, but again, these are experiences that you keep dealing with, you keep learning with time. But yeah, that was also one of the experiences.
And I think that actually segues so much into one of the challenges that a lot of young people are facing these days, and that is about mental well-being. Constantly seeing everybody's uber lux life on Instagram, or the cool things they're doing, or the super nice people they're hanging out with. This ability to stay calm is obviously something that leads to a stronger mental well-being. Would you agree?
100%.
And is there a practice that you follow on a daily basis to stay calm?
Not really, actually, but it's something that golf has taught me, to make adversity my friend, where I just take things with the way they're flowing and see what I can put on the table and do the best at that given point. Later on, with experience, everyone can do a little better.
Of course.
But what you put at the table at that given point is what matters. And even if you don't win or lose out of it, you've definitely gained some experience which will help you in the next challenge or opportunity that is opposed to you.
In a world filled with comparisons, how do you deal with them?
As long as the world's comparing me, I'm fine. I mean, I don't have a problem, but I don't compare myself to anyone, because I will be taking something away from myself. Yes, I do get inspired by people. I do take their qualities. But again, it's fake it till you make it. Self-belief all the way through. So I don't want to take anything away
I
from
don't
myself.
know whether having self-belief is really about faking it, because it is believing it.
Sometimes you just have to fake it. Like, that's what golf has taught me. Like, if you don't know you can pull off a certain shot in that situation, what do? Not play that shot, but you are under pressure to do something magical at that time. So, and with like thousands of negative thoughts coming into your mind that, don't top the shot, don't duff it, don't hit into the water, don't hit into the bunker, or don't go here. That's how the mind usually works. But how do you silence all of that? You have to give your mind another positive thought to focus on. So in a way, it is.
Wow.
But even if someone goes on stage and they're talking and they're so nervous, so all these positive affirmations, it's obviously you're making yourself believe something that you don't really believe in as much. So to a point, to an extent, I feel you do have to fake it a little.
I have done a couple of things which have worked for me. The first thing that I've done is I do a benchmarking exercise. Like you rightly said, when you compare, there'll always be somebody who's ahead of you. And when you compare, there's always going to be somebody who's not as good as you. So one can make you completely frustrated. The other can lull you into a sense of, oh, I've arrived in life. What I generally do is that I tend to benchmark. So if I'm talking to Vani and I say, my God, she's in such a high pressure sport, but she's so calm. Can I pick up that attribute from her? Yeah. I can never be a golfer. So I can never hope saying, oh, I also want to be like her. It's not possible, but I can be as calm as you. If I see somebody else who's great at networking, and that's not an area of strength, I say, okay, I don't want to be that person because I have a lot of strengths that person doesn't have, but how do I pick up networking as a strength? So that's one thing I do. The other thing I do is that I reframe. I used to have a lot of this chatter in my mind. Not good enough, you have to be better, you're not smart enough, you have to do this, you have to do that, you're not fair enough, your hair is not straight enough, all the rubbish that we get dumped on. So one of the things that I do is I keep reframing. So instead of saying, I'm not good enough, I turn around and say, what I'm really good at in this situation is this. So how do I use that?
Yes.
So these two techniques have really helped me.
Yes.
But failure is a tough game to play. And there's so much to learn every time you fail.
I think, golf has taught me this as well, the power of now. So what I look at it as is what I've achieved in the past that won't change my today. It won't really give me an edge. It probably give me an edge if says like, oh, she's achieved so much. But I still have to go out there and deliver for that day. And on that day, somebody else might be as good as me or better than me.
Better.
Probably that's the reason why I might lose and someone else might win. And at the same time, tomorrow is never guaranteed. So like I tend not to think about tomorrow at all. So what I can do the best today,
In this moment.
yes, and probably win a little in my own way today will make tomorrow better, but we'll see if that comes. So in the same way, the past, if I keep holding on to it, whether it's my win or my loss, it still doesn't change what I can do today.
That's so true. That's so true. My God. It's incredible the kind of wisdom and insights that you're bringing. And I just hope people who are listening to it, irrespective of which side of the gap they're on, I think there are lessons. Tell me one thing. You see young people today. If you were to tell them on how to survive life, and you've told me that golf is a lot like life and life is a lot like golf. So if you were to tell them that here are 2 or 3 things that you can do to survive life and maybe thrive in life, what would those be?
I think this question that I would like to ask was that what is your why and why are you doing what you're doing at whatever age? And that why has to be dictated by you. It cannot come from your parents or any other external source. It just makes the journey more nice, more happier moments. You'll put in more effort in whatever you're doing.
So find the why.
Yeah.
And what if I'm at an age where I'm still trying to figure it out and I'm not too sure of my why? Because, Vani, you're lucky. You're amongst the lucky few who found their why. I know people of my age who are struggling to figure out their why. And the interesting thing is that at various stages in life, your why can change.
Yes.
We have so many women who give up thriving careers to be child rearers, to look after their kids. And I'm not just talking my generation, I'm even talking your generation and the generations in between. But when the kids grow up and go off, then the why changes. Then you're sitting there saying, now what is my why? So what if I'm struggling with finding my why? Then what is your recommendation to younger people?
So like they say, there are certain roles that every individual has to do. Those roles might define you, whether you're a mother, daughter, brother, sister, father, or your job roles or anything of those kinds. I think finding what defines you in the first place. If all those things, we spoke about it, so if all those things are taken away,
Then
how would you like to define yourself? Then comes why. And also in life, everything is not always smooth. So finding the balance between you and your work. But I wouldn't actually call it work-life balance, but it would be something like your balance of happiness, peace that you have within you. And you're doing things for a reason, right? Like you're working, you might not like your job, but you need the money as well. But finding that balance within you, finding a reason why you're working and being peaceful with all the decisions that you make would probably be something that would help.
So I'm hearing you saying that really it is about journeying inwards.
Yes.
And figuring yourself out before you make sense of the world around
Yes.
you. And that is so true. It's true whether you are a fresh person into a corporate environment or playing a sport or just into a new relationship, or you are at the end of your professional life, you're ready to retire. It is important to figure that out. And that resonates a lot with me. It's been such an absolute delight having you on this show. because I think some of the things you've said are making sense even to me today. So it's not age or generation specific, but the quicker you start and the quicker you figure out the whys, the purpose, your passion, you figure out that being calm does not take away from your drive. Hard work works, but self-belief also works.
Yes.
The quicker you figure out these lessons, I think the easier it is to win at golf or at life. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me.
Pleasure.